Hi everyone, 5th of September, Tuesday, 27 minutes to midday here in Australia. Here's my latest video blog. I think this is video blog 100, which is, I don't know, that's a milestone. It's pretty cool. I never really planned on doing more than, I suppose, 5 videos. However, it's just sort of kept on going and I've sort of created a bit of a thing. So I'm happy to keep on doing them. If people are interested in my perspective and commentary on what I pick up and what I've been doing, and what I'm going to probably focus on a little bit more on is pulling out bits of information that are relevant to people, which may help our experience as a collective in this crazy crypto world. So anyone that's been in the markets or been keeping your eye on the markets in the last 2 days, we've seen a massive pullback. Which is healthy, and it's one of these things as people come in and out of the market, or more relates to the people who just enter the market. They have to go through this and learn and get an understanding that crypto is really volatile, and what that means is that it goes up very aggressively and pulls back very aggressively, so there's massive swings in price. So emotionally, when you're investing, can be quite stressful. So you've got to prepare yourself. I think that's the first thing you need to prepare yourself for, is understand that you're in a very choppy seas. And if you and again, I'm going to keep mentioning this. If you go long, think long, you'll do okay. If you're in this for the short game, I think you need to go and do a little bit more study on how to read markets and charts, and if at the end of the day, I think if you've got money that you can't afford to lose, you're going to lose it. That's what could happen, or you lose your position and you don't know what to do. But as long as you've got Bitcoin in your wallet, I think you're going to do okay in the long term, as a safe haven, as the slow and steady. It's going to double and triple and probably go ×5 in the next two years. So if that interests you more than anything else, then do that. But that's not financial advice. That's just my opinion. Okay. So where are we? Essentially, we're going to have a little look, and I've created this chart. So what I've done is I've just narrowed it down to since the 23rd of August to the 4th of September. So here I was on Friday going, all-time high, I'm not sure if it's going to go up or down from here, and I sort of thought it might keep going. Within hours of me doing that, that's how things work in this world. It really pulled back, and we saw a few angry movements, and sometimes I feel like all of this is by design. This first step here was quite a natural sort of movement, and it was expected. And then overnight we saw China tell all their citizens that they're not allowed to engage in ICOs, and they've made ICOs in China illegal. So any new entities that are looking to put ICOs onto the market are illegal for Chinese citizens. I'm not sure if that means that ICOs are illegal altogether if you're for a Chinese entity. I probably need to look into that. But from my understanding, if you're an entity in China about to launch an ICO, you can do it, but you're not allowed to allow Chinese citizens are not allowed to get involved, which is a bit of a shame. More, dictatorship, if you want to call it. Telling people what they can and can't do in life is pretty sucky. However, if it's to protect, I think there needs to be a little bit more scrutiny on the companies that are releasing ICOs. And I don't think there needs to be a restriction on people investing. What people do with their own decisions is up to them. So on CoinDesk, there was talk about Bitcoin price correcting on the Chinese news. Now, I happened to be trading on the markets at the time, and there was a lot of pump groups. There's been a lot of inflation, a lot of autobots. There's a lot of looked really healthy, even though we had this first couple of big movement. We saw it go from 176 billion down to 48 billion, back up to 150 billion market cap. And just in the last 2 hours, I think it's gone from 150 down to 140. We've had another pullback. And it seems to be a little bit by design. There's no doubt some big boys have got some software, or they've got something in place, some infrastructure in place. So when this Chinese news apparently came out, there was an instantaneous sell-off over probably 1 hour. strategic sell-off over 1 hour, a little bit more, and there was this massive drop across the board. It wasn't just Bitcoin, it was in all the altcoins. I went and had a look and sort of tried to see if there were any patterns, if there was anyone that got isolated. And there are a few coins that were immune, which means that these big boys didn't actually have any, I suppose, holdings in those particular coins, even though when Bitcoin drops, the overall price drops, but the sats didn't necessarily drop overall. So that means there wasn't an actual organic or a manipulated sell-off of that particular crypto asset. So yeah, China banning ICOs, that's the main reason why we saw Bitcoin drop so heavily, which is good news. It's all part of this big correction, which means that everything, all the overselling and overbought cryptos are now back to a sort of a fairly neutral position, and we may and should see, not investment advice, another upward trend. I mean, just because it drops 30 billion doesn't mean that we're not a part of an upward trend. So, but again, you've got to go and look at the charts and make these decisions for yourself. What do we got? Oh, this is another little article in regards to China. So China halts 60 ICOs as companies cancel sales awaiting legislation. So I think there's some new legislation, some control mechanisms. Chinese regulators are looking at making sure that certain legislation's in place to control the market or protect the market. I'm not too sure what your perspective is on that. And the Chinese citizens can't get in. So 60 have been affected. What's next? Bitcoin news. Good old Australia, where I'm from. Now, I live in Canberra, which is the capital. People who don't know that Canberra's the capital, I think a lot of people think the capital of Australia is Sydney, but it's not. Sydney's about 2.5 hours away from where we are, capital of Canberra. Now, there is an ATM here, a Bitcoin ATM. Now, according to this article, there's 20 Bitcoin ATMs across Australia. I don't have a Bitcoin ATM map. I think you can get one off the internet, but based on this article, they're releasing another 500 Bitcoin ATMs in Australia, which is, this type of news really shows you the mass adoption and the legitimacy of Bitcoin as a crypto, as an asset or as a currency, and the more and more of these ATMs are made available and people can actually use their everyday cards, and there's a lot of cards coming out now which you can load up with Bitcoin and things like that. Once Bitcoin gets to a certain level in about 2 or 3 years, I find that there's going to be a lot more price stability. I think you'll even get a bigger wave, and there might be they might even bring in some protocol where there's a protection barrier where Bitcoin is protected at some stage in price movements. So, sort of like a stop loss or a trigger. I forget the actual terminology, but I'm not saying that that's what they're doing. It'd just be interesting to see how do they reduce the volatility of cryptocurrencies to encourage more people to invest. Because no one's really going to put in $1,000, which they need for everyday living, and all of a sudden the next day it's down to $300. That's a pretty depressing life to be a part of. And I think there's too much influence. Your money's being influenced by too many other people. And I think that's the big concern with people with digital currency and cashless, is the fact that our investments and our wealth is going to be affected by market influences, and that does concern me. So Bitcoin, still very positive news, 20 ATMs up to 500. What's next? Another Aussie, another kangaroo. It's funny how we use kangaroos as our icon here, but I think everyone understands straight away when you see it, think of Australia. But Australia moves to legalise Bitcoin, attracts gold and bullion investors. So here they are again, trying to, what website? This is Cointelegraph, and this is the one that always seems to be talking down on gold and silver and sort of boosting up the banks a little bit and what the banks are doing, and highlighting what Goldman Sachs thinks of the entire market. So I'm sort of always reading a little bit of this with a grain of salt, or actually reading between the lines. So when Australia moves to legalise Bitcoin, attracts a gold and bullion investor. And why is this news? I mean, what they're doing is saying, well, is Bitcoin going to take away attention from gold and silver as a store of wealth? And there's no doubt, absolutely no doubt, that's going to happen. Bitcoin's already 4,000 plus US dollars, and you know that's more than double what gold is at the moment. However, I'm a big ambassador on gold and silver because it's real. You can hold it again. I keep telling people, don't take your eye off gold and silver. If you're not a big fan of gold and silver, that's fair enough. You know, it's heavy and it's bulky, and there's a bit of a risk if you feel like you've got to hold it somewhere or store it somewhere. But I think at the end of the day, you've got to have, if you're interested in your future or you've got kids and things like that, you should be getting Bitcoin. Yes, you need to be stacking Bitcoin. Get some crypto, but make sure you got some gold and silver. Keep your eye on the stock markets. I do believe they're going to get hammered over the next 18 months, and I think the gold and silver mining sector may take a big boost. There's going to be some big movements in tech, and I've got a couple that I might share with you at another time. What else have I got? So Bitcoin, again, taking away attention from gold and bullion, or gold and bullion investors endorsing Bitcoin. That's what this is all about. It's about legitimizing Bitcoin as a main store. What have I got here? This is Verge. Verge. It's a minnow. It's a privacy coin. I'm not shilling a coin here in the sense that I'm not getting paid to do anything here. I am invested in Verge. I'm hopeful Verge goes through the roof, as anyone would hope if they're invested in something. What I like about Verge is, one, that it's very cheap. I think it's flying under the radar. I think in regards to privacy and what the dev team are trying to do to legitimize and verify the particular protocols that are going to make it a true privacy coin are highly relevant. I'm not a big fan of government regulations and you know, tax and all of this stuff. I mean, I do what I need to do. I contribute to my society. Personally, I believe in having privacy. If I want to make decisions in my life, they're mine. If you want to make decisions in your life, whether it's finances, health, whatever you want to do, you make those decisions. Never ever allow mob rule to dictate what you can do with your life, but just live by common law. If you do no harm to anyone else, I think that's a very, very good protocol. If you're contributing to those around you and being good, then what's the big deal? Otherwise, it's just out of hand. Another fascist society. We just don't need it. What I like about, going on a tangent there, what I like Digibyte as well, it scares me a little bit because I don't see enough action from Digibyte. Now, I've put a little deadline. If I don't see much action by probably the end of December this year, outside of market influences, I'm probably going to make some different decisions in what I do with the actual crypto, because I just don't believe it's being moved forward in regards to mass adoption. That's what I'm really looking for, is how these crypto assets are going to apply their technology or their services to the public. I mean, that's what it's about, whether it's a product or a currency or an asset or a cyber security, you know, whatever they're into, they've got to show that they're being active. Now, they don't have to disclose anything, really. I mean, that's business. I suppose there's an understanding that businesses don't have to disclose anything, you know, what goes on in a boardroom. But when you've got an open source project like Verge or Digibyte or some of these others, I think it goes a long way if people are proactively communicating with the investors and the community. And that's where I think, you know, that's the future of any company, is the strength of the community and the support behind it. I mean, that's what makes something something. And that's why, even like a currency, if there's faith behind and support behind a currency, we legitimize its value just via that faith. So, and that's what it's all about. But what I wanted to do is show you this video. That, looks like at some stage in September they're going to be releasing a whole heap of new information, new elements to their whole cryptocurrency space. But I've got this video that I found in their Telegraph, and I just want to share that with you. I'll just give it a double click. Now, what this has got to do with, working for me, yep, here we go, I'll be quiet. So information is all around us. You're leaving bits of yourself everywhere you go. Now you have a choice. Now you can choose to move silently and leave no trace. Disappear. Wraith Protocol. How I'll pause it there. Now, Wraith Protocol, stealth addressing. Sending and receiving addresses are impossible to decipher. Transactions cannot be revealed by using a blockchain explorer, and IP addresses are going to be, from the sender and receiver, are going to be hidden completely. So what that does is gives you full autonomy and control over your finances. You can move money in between merchants or individuals privately and as you need without being tracked on a public ledger and things like that. And I think that's a great option. I mean, if you don't want that, I mean, that's what we want. We want options. And any of these things that are going to present privacy, I think, are going to really, really move these coins forward. Now, what I like about Verge, it does have 16 billion coins, and Bitcoin has 21 million. A lot of people say, oh, well, that's a lot of coins, but you've got to give it 2-3 years when a lot of these coins are going to be bought up and there's going to be a little bit more scarcity, and there's got to be mining. There's 13 billion already released, and there's 3 billion to go, which are going to be released over the next, I think it's 4 or 5 years. And some of that's going to be used for marketing and all sorts of stuff. So they've got lots in the works, which from an investment point of view, because it's so cheap, it sort of makes sense to maybe just buy some and put some aside. You know, this is not investment advice, but I do believe that there's sometimes you just got to take a bit of a punt. You could easily put some of this in a wallet, close the wallet, back it up, put it somewhere really safe, and come back at the end of 2019, and I think you'll be very, very pleasantly surprised. But that's all I wanted to share with you. I did have some ICOs that I was going to share, but the ICOs that I read into them and I just went, no, I can't. If I don't believe in it and I'm not going to invest in it, I'm not going to shill it. You know, in the sense of why would I? I don't. There's no value for me to give that to you. And I think it was Black Moon. There was another one, not FinTech or FinFinance, which made some sense. But I think a lot of these ICOs, what you've got to remember is I think they're going to be isolated to certain areas in the world. So they might be relevant to a particular country or a continent, and so they'll have a little bit of support. They might not be worldwide adopted. So what you've got to look at is, in regards to returning an investment, how much is the token worth? How much is it perceived to be valued based on the ecosystem that it's going to be within, and what, you know, how much competition do they have and that type of stuff. And I'm sort of moving away from ICOs until I see things that I really, really believe in that are going to be sort of, they have to be game changers now. Like, they have to be really world changing in regards to this whole space. Otherwise, it's just one of many. And I think there's going to be a dilution phase, just like the dot-com bubble. Everyone was having a crack, and you know, some people made a lot of money, but there was a lot of money lost as well. So that's Verge. What else have I got? This is the last thing, Egypt. I'm actually, this is a bit off subject, but I'm a big ambassador, and I'm a coach of health and fitness and mindset and psychology and the universe, and I love energy and frequencies and vibration and music and everything to do with the ancients and how that's all coming together now. We always thought it was about tombs and worship, and my studies are leading that every single temple in the world was not for worship, it was actually for sound and energy transference or use, a bit like a motherboard. And there's a lot of research showing that the stone that they were using and the temples and the sacred geometry and all of that was related to scalar energy and negative ions, and how they were structuring water through the water aquifers. And I find it really, really interesting. So yesterday I came across this was an Egyptian Ancients tour for March next year, and I spontaneously booked in. And I'm going, so I will be doing some videos and things from Egypt next year, no doubt. I'm also planning on going to Russia for my pyramids research tour. There's some pyramids in Russia where they're actually healing, right? I use that word fairly loosely, but healing in the sense of re-establishing, realigning, harmonizing your biology at a cellular level through electro or magnetic electro fields, and I think there's a lot to be learnt, and I think we need to get back to understanding the ancient science of how our body and our cellular level, at a cellular level, responds to magnetic fields, because I think that's where our sickness is coming from. It's not just about surface level science where we look at matter and particles as being a thing. I think we've got to look past that and go right down to sound and vibration and electromagnetics. And I think all our answers to life, the universe, and everything is going to be found there. That's all I wanted to share with you on that. I'm going to leave it at that. So thanks for watching. Let me know what you think about all of this stuff. I'm always willing to reply in the YouTube comments, and please join me on Sebastian Jago at Steemit, or the other way around at Steemit.com. If you're not on Steemit, sign up. It's a pretty cool blog. Doesn't seem to be any trolls there. I think it kicks ass on Facebook. Really good place to launch and release and share your own information, and you do get paid for it. It takes a lot of work to build your profile up, but anyone that comes and comments on my articles there, including these videos where I do write a little bit more, I always upvote and say hello and thank people for contributing. So that's all I've got. Thanks for watching, guys. Let me know what you think. Have a good day, and keep your eye on the markets. Is it going up and down? Who knows? But it's exciting times regardless. So thanks for watching.